This is Peggy Anne Salz. This is Business of Apps, and this is our opportunity to talk with some companies in the space, but do it in a very different way, in a very informal way, because here we are. I'm with John Bizimana, account executive at Iterable.
Yes.
And yes, John, we know Iterable, very data-driven company. This is a data-driven industry. How's it changing? How is it evolving? What's one major change you've noticed?
What we've noticed is that there is an explosion of data in terms of what businesses are collecting on their users. But the problem is that when you look at the way that they message and engage their customers, they're not really using this data. So this is the reason why you get a ton of emails, a ton of messages that you never open or engage with because they're not relevant and personalized to you. So the problem is not that businesses don't have this data, it's that they actually cannot activate it and then use it to personalize their messaging. So what we're seeing is that a lot of businesses are now tapping into their data, their entire data infrastructure, and then using all that data to personalize messages so that they're more relevant. So for example, if you got an email that was really relevant to your interests. So you were browsing on a website and you were interested in particular products, and then that business is using all of that data to actually serve you messaging around that particular product, and it's in the right price range, and it's in the right color, and all that. They're using, marketing teams are now sort of like leveraging that data more to personalize this messaging with their customers.
All of these conferences over the years, it has always been the answers in the data. Look at the data. The customer data will tell you. But actually, it's a lot harder to unlock the knowledge in the data. Give me an idea of what is challenging here, because I don't know that marketers, they know that it's in the data. The challenge is, you said yourself, activating it. But what are some steps to take? Is it simply democratize access to the data and, the company departments will figure it out, they'll break down the silos, they'll work together, and we'll all hold hands? Or maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that, and I'd like you to explain that.
Let me maybe give you an example. So we work with a big sports retailer, apparel retailer, and they wanted to grow their online business from something like 500 million to like 4 billion in 5 years. And so, so they looked at their situation and said, so how do we get from 500 million to that to that 4 billion in 5 years? And so what we did is we first looked at their data infrastructure. So show us, where is your data? How do you store it? How do you activate it? And then how do you also retire it? And so when we looked at their data infrastructure, we saw that their data was fragmented. It was all over the place. So you had some data in this one system and other piece of data in different other systems. So the first thing that we did was to let's put all this data in one place. And so once we had the data in one place, we then looked at, then how do we use this data to really personalize the messages that we send to their customers? So, for example, in their customer database, they had, customers all the way from 16 to 60 years old. And so the way that you would message with Gen X, Gen Z versus baby boomers would be different. But, they had all this data, just that it was fragmented. So by putting it in one place, looking at the use cases and establishing a content strategy, communication strategy that was based on the individual interests of those different customer segments, they were able to just build better customer journeys for their end users. And then what that resulted in was that their customers, because now they were being able to really personalize and message them on any channel. So some people just don't want to send a text message, some want an email, some want push notifications. So by adapting to the customer's messaging preferences, they're able to engage with them more, and they were actually able to go from that 500 million to 4 billion, not in 5 years, but in 4 years. I mean, I have to admit that COVID did help a little bit because, that saw an explosion in and artificial growth, let's say, because a lot more people, being online. But those are sort of like the results that you can see when you look at your data, you centralize it, you activate it, and then use it to personalize messaging.
What don't we understand about sort of the upkeep of data? I'm talking with a lot of marketers who are like, you know what? We have the data, but it has a certain shelf life, and that shelf life is changing. And so it needs to be enhanced, enriched, updated, and sometimes thrown out.
Looking at the data lifecycle, how do you capture the data? How do you store it? How do you activate it? And how do you retire it? Because, there are things like GDPR and privacy issues, and, you got to respect all that. So you got to have a system that allows you to manage this data through the entire life cycle. And there are great tools for that. And this is some of the things that we help our customers with.
Let's talk about what I'm hearing more about, the data stack, right? We had the tech stack, we had the growth stack, we have a tech stack. I've just finished a project looking at the sustainable growth stack, but there's also a data stack. What does that look like? How's that shaping up? What are some key components of it with Iterable? But it's broader than that. And particularly when it's AI powered, AI enabled, AI enhanced, and also cross-channel. So that's a very complex stack. Make it simple for me.
I mean, you got to look at what are all the different spaces or properties where data is used by a customer. So if you're like a retail business, you might capture some data in store when people are purchasing. You might have some website properties. That's another place where you capture the data. You might have a mobile app. That's another place where you capture that data. And so the question is, right, you have all this data and it's sitting in data warehouses, it's sitting in, customer data platforms and, all these different tools. And so the question is, well, how do you, first of all, because we keep talking about centralizing, how do you do that? The great thing is with the technologies and how they've evolved now with APIs and all that, it is actually quite, I was going to say easy, but maybe I should have used the word easy, but it's quite straightforward actually, like how you can do this. In the context of Iterable, no matter what the data is, you can actually use APIs to just bring it to a single place. And then once you have it in a single place, you can then use it you can activate it and start personalizing on any channel. But I would say that, all these different data sources, just find a way to sort of like use APIs or some other way to just centralize it so that it can then be activated for personalization.
What about AI? Where does it add the most value? Is it like finding the patterns, driving the personalization, predicting the models? Where does it add the most value, and maybe also within the confines and the context of Iterable?
There's some people looking at AI and saying, the machines are going to take over the world. It's all doom and gloom. And then there's another side that's looking at AI as like, actually, this is going to be an enabler of human productivity. So actually, what you can do with AI is really optimize what you can do in terms of like marketing. So if you are doing marketing across multiple countries, multiple languages, multiple channels, you might need 4 or 5 people to do all this work. But then with AI, you can just have one person who's leveraging this technology to actually achieve the same amount of work or even more. So what AI is really going to do is really optimize what marketing people are already doing. And so, for example, if you're going to be writing content and trying to come up with different messaging approaches for different countries, you can leverage AI so that it actually does that for you. If you're trying to decide like, we have all these channels in which we can communicate with our customers. Should we send them text messages? Should we send them emails? Well, AI can make that selection for you based on what it has seen historically to really get that engagement up.
Also the handover, that's going to be exciting when I can start in one channel and continue in other channels, because we don't use just one. I mean, I've looked at some very interesting data that as consumers, we love them all. It's just we like our own mix of them. So we don't stay just to one. We drag it from, yes, it was maybe WhatsApp as a marketing channel, email as a backup, AI chatbot to activate. So there's a mix of them. What kinds of mixes are you seeing? Is there something innovative, exciting? We know we've got the data. We know we've got the channels. Now put them all together and tell me about an experience.
Marketing people, they tend to look at the customer journey as a linear thing. And so they imagine that, okay, we need to first send an email, wait some time, then, try a different channel, and so forth. But actually what really happens is that the customer journey is chaotic. You as a customer are sort of like jumping in and out of this buying journey. It's an episodic type of like chaotic journey that you have, and then you want to basically jump in and out when you want to. So what brands need to do is to be able to engage with a customer at the time that they choose to engage and on the channel that they choose to engage. So it's not really about building these journeys that are sort of like linear, but being able to just engage the customer at the time of their choosing and making that experience, and think about it as moments where the customer wants to engage with your brand, that you're able to be responsive on that channel no matter what it is.
That's a much richer way of looking at it. It's not like you're making choices for me. It's like you're weaving it all together.
Yes.
And you're going to offer it all to me, and I'm going to take what I want because I'm jumping in and out of your experience when and as I want to as well.
Customer's king, customer's queen. So you gotta, serve them on their own terms.
We're back to that again.
Yeah. I mean, it never dies.
Doesn't it seem like it goes around in circles, but it's like a 3D chess game? It just goes around, and here we are. I mean, here we are talking about data again. Iterable's been there from the start, talking about data.
Yeah, what you just said there about like a 3D chess game. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. I was thinking that, these journeys are chaotic and all, but I wouldn't have thought of it in terms of like it's a 3D chess game. But that's what it is. That's what the opportunity is. And the companies that are able to actually capture this opportunity and understand that, this is how customers like to be engaged with, those are the brands that are going to win.
Let me understand somebody who's really stretching what Iterable can deliver and really sort of, pushing the envelope. Give me an example. Leave us with something inspiring to work towards.
Let's say that you are a business that owns cinemas, right? So then I buy my movie ticket for tomorrow at 8 p.m., right? So what would be cool is if tomorrow at 7 p.m. I get a push notification that says, hey, John, by the way, we checked the traffic conditions for you, and it looks like there's going to be a ton of traffic on the way. So if you want to make your movie on time, you might want to leave now. So this is a cool thing because, the thing that goes into all that is like you're going to be able to know what that customer is. You need to know where the movie is. You need to know what time it's starting. You need to be able to know the traffic conditions, and you to be able to send that push notification at the time that is right for that customer, and it needs to be personalized to them as well.
And that's when you prove value. That's when you prove de facto value. You don't even have to do branding for that. It's just great. Yeah. A great experience. And I've seen that. New data I was looking at, a great experience will cause nearly 40% of people who were surveyed to buy more.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? You don't have to do anything. They'll buy more, just give them a good experience. Speaking of good experiences, John, it was a good experience speaking with you as well. I want to thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, fist bump. Thank you. Yeah, it's been lovely speaking with you too.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.